Hi, this is Sherry at the Intentional Home Podcast, where I share tips and resources to help you live with intention and purpose. This is episode number 19, and today we're going to be talking about how you can set up and use a loop schedule to plan out some summertime fun. Have you ever heard of loop scheduling? If not, basically it's a list of things that you want to do, or if you're using it in your homeschooling, something that you want to learn that you set up on a rotating basis. So let me just explain how loop scheduling can be used. In homeschooling, I've used loop scheduling at various times to plan out some different topics for my homeschool, and I use it for some of those topics that you maybe don't need to do every day, but they're things that you want to touch on. So you can use it for some of those miscellaneous topics, like maybe art or music studies or Bible history, some of those topics that you maybe don't need to cover every day. They're not your core curriculum, but they're things that you want to touch on. With your kids, you can set them up on a loop schedule so that you do one on the list, and then the next day you do the next item, and the next day you do the next item, and then when you're done with the different topics that you're wanting to cover, you go back to the beginning and do the next lesson or the next chapter or whatever that you're doing for that topic. So it's kind of setting up topics in a loop so that you rotate what you're doing every day. So that's one way you can use loop scheduling in homeschooling. Some people also like to use it when they're setting up their cleaning schedule. They make a list of their cleaning tasks that need to be done, and then every day they just do one task on the list, and when they get done with the list, they go back to the beginning and start over. And so some people like to use that for cleaning. You can also use it for a reading schedule. You can use it to plan out your read aloud times with your kids, or maybe their own reading time, but you can set up a loop, for example, where maybe you have read a fiction book, read a biography, read a nonfiction book, read some poetry, or maybe a literature book. So what you can do then is you can let your child choose a book for that topic, and then once they're done with that book, they have to choose a book for the next topic and go through all of those different topics that you've selected, and then once they're done, they can go back to the beginning. So it's just one way that you can use loop scheduling to provide some variety and to kind of force you to maybe do some of those things that you maybe would tend to not do. We have those different topics or activities that we like to do, and sometimes we tend to get in a rut, and so it's a good way to keep that variety going in our days. But what I want to talk about today actually is how you can use loop scheduling to plan out some summertime fun. So I'm going to go through 5 steps for how you can do this. And at the end, I hope that you will be encouraged to consider doing this for your summertime. So the first step is to make a bucket list of all the things that you and your kids would like to do this summer. So just sit down with your kids and make a list of all the different activities that they would like to do. Like, for example, it could be things like going to the pool, or going to the water park, or going on some sort of field trip, going to the park to play, going to the library. Could be things like going on a camping trip or going on vacation, or, make a list of all the different things that you and your kids would like to do during the summer. Then the next step 2, is I want you to take that list, try to divide it up into at least 4 different groups of activities if you can. Try to see if you can kind of group them together in different types of activities. Like, for example, maybe there's one group of activities that's kind of water related. Maybe it's like going to the swimming pool, or running through the sprinklers, or having a water gun fight. Those are kind of all water related activities. You could group those together. Maybe you have things that you like to do inside, like maybe have a game day or a movie night, or Maybe there's a project that you want to work on, whatever. Kind of group those items together into hopefully 4, maybe 3 different groups so that you have, what I would suggest is to get a piece of paper and write the type of activity on the top, and then under that, write down each of the activities that go in that group. So you've got your 3 or 4 pieces of paper with the different types of activities kind of grouped together by type. So that's step 2. The next step, step 3, is you're going to set up a loop schedule where you're going to make a list of each of the categories kind of in the order that you want to do them. So you may have number 1 is game day fun inside. Number 2 might be water fun activities. Number 3 might be field trips. Number 4 might be movie night or whatever. So, but make a list of the different categories that you've divided those activities into. Make a list. Just label it 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, however many categories that you have, but make a list. And that's what you're going to use to loop your summertime fun. Okay, the next thing, step 4, is to decide what days of the week that you're going to be doing the summertime fun activities. Now, depending on what your family's schedule is during the summertime, this may be only 1 day a week that you choose to set aside to do something fun. It could be a few days a week. It really just depends on your family, but decide what days of the week or maybe how many times a week that you're going to be doing this loop schedule with the fun activities. The next step is step 5. Now is the fun part. You're going to get a calendar out, maybe just a couple months, to get through the summer, and mark the days that you're going to be doing the summertime fun activities. So we're not necessarily going to plan out specifically every activity that you're going to do each day, but what you're going to do is to look at your loop schedule and start with the first type of activity on your list. So, for example, mine was game day fun. So on your first day that you're planning on doing this, just write game day fun. And then the next day that you're planning on doing a fun activity, I'll put like water fun. So just put like the general categories to start with and kind of map out your summer going through the categories. And when you get through all of them, then start over. So you're just going to have a rotating schedule of those categories throughout the summer months. Now, what you can do then is, like I said, I really would not plan out in detail unless you want to. But what I would encourage you to do then is maybe just 1 week or maybe 2 weeks at a time, look at the days during those weeks that you're planning on doing something fun, and then go to your list for that category and pick something that you want to do on each of those days, and then go ahead and write it in. That way, if there's something that requires you to leave the house, to go to the park or go to the pool or whatever, that it will give you time to plan ahead of time and maybe choose an activity on that day that kind of fits the rest of your schedule for that day. So, but go ahead and pick activities and jot those in maybe for a week or 2 at a time. And then when you get those done, just cross them off your list so that when you're scheduling the next week or 2, that you'll know which ones you've accomplished, and then you can choose some new activities for that topic. So that's just some ideas for how you can use loop scheduling to plan out some summertime fun. Now, while all of your summer days are probably not going to be filled with these summertime activities because we all have projects around the house with things that we need to get done during the summer, but it will give you and the kids something fun to look forward to as you do the work those other days of the week. So it'll give them something fun if they know, Friday is our summertime fun day and, we're going to get to do something fun. And so maybe the rest of the week it will encourage them to do the different little jobs or things, projects that you have around the house that you want to get done. Now, on a side note, I am also going to be setting up a loop schedule just for me. Now, I have things that I want to do this summer for fun, So I'm going to go ahead and set up a schedule that's just for me. Now, my list is going to include things like reading, crocheting, listening to the Homeschool Moms Conference sessions, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a bit. Baking. I've got a new book idea that I'm thinking about publishing. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be putting on my list, and I'm going to set aside some time just for me to do those things and put myself on a rotating schedule so I don't just spend my whole summer, the little free time I've set aside, I don't spend it all reading, or I don't spend it all crocheting or baking, but I force myself to have that variety, and it makes it funner too. And I'm realizing, that I really need that time set aside to get refreshed. I've shared before, recently that, I've been homeschooling for 20 years, and after a while, it can start to feel heavy and burdensome, and it can really start to almost to burn you out. And so this has been something that I'm looking forward to and something I really need this summer. So I want to encourage you to set up a loop schedule for yourself too. And think of some things that would bring joy to you and things that you really love doing, and set that up on a rotation so that you can have some variety, and you can also have just that time set aside during the week that you can do something that you love. Now, if you are a homeschool mom, I really would encourage you to check out the Homeschool Moms Conference that's going on right now. You have through June 10th to purchase your ticket. And when you purchase your ticket, you get lifetime access to all the sessions. So that's how I'm able to plan out time all during the summer to watch them, because no matter when you buy your ticket during this week of the conference, you will get access to all the sessions that have been released so far, plus all the ones that will be released through the 10th. And once the conference is over, all of the sessions will be available, and you will have lifetime access to them if you have purchased a ticket. So I'm looking forward to spending some time this summer. I've already been able to listen to several of the sessions, and they were really, really good. And so I'm looking forward to just being able to sit and relax and soak in some encouragement and inspiration for me as a homeschool mom. So I will have links in the show notes for that conference if you're interested. But I hope that you can see how much fun loop scheduling can be. You can get really creative and use this tool in many different areas of your life. But I hope that you'll consider doing something like this for this summer, just because it forces you to be intentional, while at the same time it gives you and your kids some variety, so you aren't stuck doing the same things all the time. And plus it gives everyone something fun to look forward to. So go grab yourself some paper and a calendar and start jotting down your lists and set up some loop schedules for you and the kids for this summer. Thank you for joining me here again at the Intentional Home Podcast. I would love it if you would subscribe in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. And if you love listening to my podcast, I would love it if you would leave me a review. It just helps iTunes to get my podcast out to more people. If you would like more information about my podcast, to see the show notes with links to all that I've mentioned in the episodes, just go to my podcast page at sherrygraham.com/podcast. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.